my friends, and welcome back to my channel. I know it has been a long time no see, but I have had a fantastic October and I wanted to pop in here and show you my finished traveler's notebook. Normally when I do an October or even a December project like this, I focus on more just having fun rather than it being a daily project, and that's exactly what I did in October. But as you can see by the chunk of this traveler's notebook, it did end up being an almost daily project. So I made my own fabric traveler's notebook cover. A lot of this stuff I shared with my patrons. We had a bunch of live streams and our weekly videos. So the majority of this traveler's notebook I put together over there. But it's this really fun black and white striped fabric that I did dye myself with a few little purple and orange splotches. And of course it's not a notebook really, or a project of mine, if it doesn't have some sort of charm dangle on it. I made two thinking I would pick one. One is kind of a ghosty theme, one is more of a pumpkin theme. I could not pick one, so I ended up with two. Inside here there are two inserts, because the first one ended up getting pretty big. This is definitely a departure from my normal kind of simple traveler's notebook style. This one is definitely more of, I call it like an embellished traveler's notebook. Definitely the pages are full of kind of embellishments and mixed media and trims and all sorts of good stuff. So there's not really any kind of chronological order in here. I just did whichever page struck my fancy at the time, using supplies from my stash. I didn't buy a whole lot in the way of new October/Halloween supplies this year. I really was making an attempt to use some of my stash. So this was a printable from Rosie Studios and a Rosie Studios frame. Then I've got some ribbons, some die cut spiders, and a few little embellished stickers. Everything is stitched together, so there's a lot of kind of bulk and texture in this album. Some of the pages are a little bit simpler. I used a full page photo with a kind of string of embellishments, pumpkin themed of course, and I did add a couple of 3x4 pocket pages in here as well. So got a little shaker pocket down here because it's not a holiday project without a bit of sequins, is it? This is a little vellum flip up that I've got here, another Rosie Studios from their newest collection this year. I printed it onto some vellum and just had this little flip up that hides my photo. The background paper on here, I called it coffee dyeing. I coffee dyed it with some purple fountain pen ink, and I really love the color and the way that that turned out. Down here in the southern hemisphere, it's not autumn or fall, it is most definitely spring heading into summer. So I didn't have any gorgeous like fall leaves or, you know, actual real pumpkins. That's not the season we're in down here. So I had to try to find ways to make kind of spring floral photos fit into the theme. I did that with a few spooky black clouds. And then, I mean, I had to put it in. The stars, the sequins, the non-stop repeat on my radio here. Definitely had to put a little page in here for Taylor. Then again, so a lot of these pages just like using bits of scraps that I've got, old stamp sets from Heidi Swap, just keeping on the theme of pumpkins and ghosts and orange. I made a concerted effort to watch a few spooky things. Again, it's not really that season down here, so I tried to cozy it up and watch spooky things whenever I could. I loved the color of this Netflix poster here, so I really played on purple heavily for this. I've used a whole lot of mixed media really. I kind of really enjoyed that. So I've got some shimmer sprays from Dilutions, some Tim Holtz stencils with some black paste. Just, I had a whole lot of fun. As did the kittens. I got them some Halloween themed toys, some meowgic toys, if you will, and used a whole bunch of like stamps that were not Halloween themed at all, but you know, leaned heavily into the cat theme. The little labels were from a freebie printable that I put up for my patrons. I used a few of them, especially the purple. Like, purple becomes quite a theme in this notebook. This was one of our live stream pages, a little bit of a creepy mixed media vibe here. I've got a vellum kind of ghosty photo, and I used a bunch of new stencils. And Shane will hate me for putting this on the internet, but he shaved his head and I figured he looked a little bit like Uncle Fester, and so when I took a photo I asked him to make a face, and here it goes. So I did a little flip up there. It's a little bit tight, but it still works. It's Bricktober. It definitely was. I did the Wednesday Lego was the first one I did, and then I did this Halloween wreath as well, which has graced my door for the month. So fun. This is really the kind of first time that I've got into Lego. Shane's been doing a little bit of it, so I decided to join in as well, and I had a bunch of fun. I really had planned to read a little bit more during October. I had a bunch of not necessarily spooky books, but you know, witchy themed books lined up, but I only got through 3. The month was busy, full of crafting instead, so this was the first page. I did the background for this page I think almost 2 years ago, and it's sat in my Halloween stash ever since, using some stencils from Pink Fresh Studio. I just changed up the colours and made them kind of orange themed, and it worked really well, especially with this book cover. So here's the other half of that 3x4 pocket page. It's going to be impossible for you to see this, but I used some glow-in-the-dark distress paste there with a stencil on a clear pocket background. So if the studio lights went on, you'd be able to see that one glowing. And I did manage to get Pearl to wear a little witch's hat for approximately 1.5 seconds, just long enough for me to take a photo. With Willow, there wasn't a chance. There was no way she was letting me put anything on her head. So, toe beans it is. Like I said, I did watch a few things during the month of October, and I didn't necessarily want to make a single page for all of them. So there are 3 of these types of pages, little review pages, in this notebook. The first 3 are here. It's really simple, just using some stamps, and some little borrowed images from Google. Here's the other one. I changed up the background paper, but just added like little icons the best I could to make them kind of fit the theme of the movies or shows that I watched. Like I said, I had a bunch of live streams with my patrons, and I think I had 4, so I had 4 opportunities to dress up in October, and take that I did. This was one of my costumes, a little bit of an October infestation, full of spiders, which, given how scared I am of spiders, was a brave move for me, I thought. It was seriously creepy. I kept catching them out of the corner of my eye and like trying not to freak out too much. The second book I read, and honestly one of my favourite books for the whole year, I think, A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping. So had to use the Spooky House die here. It was as close a die as I had to a magical inn. I did sort of half of this page on the live stream, and when we finished, I kind of thought it needed a little extra something. So I did go away and add a few sparkly gems on there as well. Like I said, I was really into mixed media in October, so this was a kind of, I guess, a mixed media masterboard that I made, just having a bit of a play around with some of the like test strips and swatches that I had kind of collected throughout the month as I was playing with new supplies, and I kind of collaged them all together and added a few extra mixed media bits and pieces before I trimmed out my favorite part and turned it into a page, documenting one of my tarot card pulls for the month. This was a really simple page. I just wanted to create a double page spread. I hadn't really been doing a lot of those. They were mostly single pages in this notebook. So I put together this one. I wanted to add a little jack-o'-lantern in there. And I do have one tiny little extra photo hidden away in there, all ready to pull out for a little bit of a scare. Again, like I said, it's spring down here, so I don't have beautiful falling leaves, but I do have lots of pink and purple popping up into the garden. And I just went out one day to kind of take a few photos, and I arranged them in Photoshop in kind of, I guess, rainbow order, and I was so glad that I did. This is one of these things that I guess is the reason why behind this kind of documentation. I'm so glad I did this. We had a horrendous storm come through just a couple of days after I took all of these photos. There was a lot of damage around my town, a lot of trees down, and certainly my pretty flowers and garden did not survive intact either. So I'm very glad I've got this page in here. I kept it simple with the photos behind, and I've just added some little vellum die cut titles and then sprinkled on some more sequins. I don't think I mentioned, I'm into the second notebook here, and I didn't put these notebooks together until the end, well, actually after October. I was just working on kind of individual sheets of paper and storing them until I was finished and ready. And when I went to put the second notebook together, I clearly had not counted very well. To put this sort of style of notebook together, you need multiples of 4, and I had 1 page left over, which I'll show you was a cut file. So I had made this again, freebie cut file for my patrons, and I had made this like shaker pocket or shaker page, I guess, and I didn't want to not put that in there, so I created this funny little slide page as well, taking some photos of a kind of 3D project that I had made. A little crafty miniature grimoire situation was honestly one of my favorite projects of the whole month, and I hadn't got any photos of it until now, so that was lucky that I remembered. This is the third of my media kind of sheets in here in the same style. Again, this background paper was one that I had kind of like coffee dyed myself, but with fountain pen ink, so this time in orange and pink. We went to a Dracula ballet in October, so I've put together this little pocket here. It's got a bunch of embellishments in here along with a wee photo strip of the night itself. Some of those are photos that I took, and some of them are photos that I borrowed from the website, because honestly the photos of the ballet that I took were not so great. This is the last thing I have to do in this notebook. Actually, I wanted to write kind of a recap in here of some of the highlights. So I've got a bit of space in here for my journaling. I just haven't quite done that yet. I wanted to film this video first, but this was the last of my live stream costumes, Pumpkin Queen. I don't know if you can see, there's a little bit of kind of hidden title in here. My favorite treat for the month was these Reese's peanut butter pumpkins. I didn't think I'd be able to find them this year, but there they were, and delicious. Like I said, I got my shaker pocket, and then I got to this point and realized I hadn't taken any photos of the kind of decorating I had done around my room and house, so I put together another little collage of those just to have them documented somewhere in here. And my last book here, The Secret Service of Tea and Treason. It's not a particularly Halloween themed page, but I leaned into the tea part of it because I do have this like Halloween themed stamp set that creates this really beautiful cup, and I hadn't used that anywhere else this year, so I've used it in here. This is another live stream. I made a sweatshirt with an iron-on transfer for my purpley witchy themed live stream. So I went crazy with a bunch of die cutting here and just kind of made this scene. so I could put my wee photos in there. And we got the kittens a new tower in October, and I'm not sure what this cat is doing. She kind of just sits at the top of it staring into space, so I'm taking it that she loves it, but the caption over it was "I see dead people," and I do have a little bit of a hidden tag in here as well. Shane begrudgingly indulged me with some Halloween face masks and then very kindly let me put this photo on the internet as well. And then I had the most magical Halloween I've probably had in my whole life. I had my nephew Jack here for the whole day. And if anyone is going to match my level of Halloween enthusiasm, it is my 6-year-old nephew. We had an absolute blast. We painted pumpkins and went on a playground crawl, and we looked at the very few amount of people who had decorated their house for Halloween. We drove around hunting for the best one. We had a treasure hunt. We ate far too much candy and watched K-pop Demon Hunters. So honestly, one of the best Halloweens, if not the best Halloween I've had. That's it. That's my very chunky, my very fun October daily traveler's notebook. I had a real blast in October, and part of that was putting this together. I hope you had a fantastic October too, whether you documented it or not. And we all know what's coming next month too. Hey my friends, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. It really means a lot to me. And I will see you again really soon. Bye.